Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 200th episode of Live Free Now Show, the episode 200 Extravaganza. Oh, hey, whoa. What's up, Rye Guy?
Not excited for the big 200.
Big 200.
And excited to talk to Dare Bear.
At D Broze Live Free. Coming at you.
DB in the place to be.
DB in the place to be. He doesn't know this yet, but we got a secret surprise because, as you know, we do the Conspiracy Corner. Yeah. Woo, woo. And we don't have anything prepared for that. So we're going to put Derrick Broze on the spot. You know, ever since Ryan did that show with Mike Cobb, where they had like this really great quality production. And Ryan was like, hold on, let me pretend to be John. Every time when we start now, that's what I think in my head. He totally effed me up. All right. So as you know, my friends, this is the 200th episode of the Live Free Now show. We're really excited about that. I want to invite you on this momentous occasion to go and subscribe. One of these days, everything will be laid out, prepared. I'll just click the button on my fancy Stream Deck here, which does this. Oh, we lost camera. Oh, that's fine. And I won't have to look around or do anything. Shout out to Catherine Martin and Vanessa Velez, our biggest fans. Vanessa, we want to give more credit to Catherine Martin, though, because she's here of her own accord. Vanessa's here to work with us, and she loves us, too. But Vanessa's our social media lady. So shout out to Vanessa Velez, a.k.a. Mi Cura Curandera, Vatos Locos way. Anyway, I want to invite you guys on this momentous occasion to go over to livefreenow.show. That's livefreenow.show. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the podcast. Over here, Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, all your favorites. I've been using Spotify quite a bit lately. Subscribe to the podcast. Also here, you'll be able to find our most recent shows. So we got a lot of good programming on here. We even sat down with Donald Trump and interviewed him. Gave him a hard time. He was a tough cookie to crack, that Donald Trump. He's pretty good.
We cracked him, though.
At ambush journalism. So we got the Flannel Brothers here. That day we freaked out Tom Woods. We went too conspiratorial off the deep end.
Come on.
Having it. So, yeah, go ahead and check out the show. Danny Katz was a great show. So let's go ahead. We're going to be doing giveaways all day. So shout out to the folks that showed up live because you're going to get the first chance to win. So here's how we're going to do it. We're doing giveaways. We're doing prizes, free courses, coupons, and discounts. We're going to do it all throughout the show. To participate, you go to livefree.academy/quiz, livefree.academy/quiz. And there you'll be able to put your name, email, phone number, and then I want you to write the quiz question. Put the quiz question. This is what it looks like, all right? So you guys go ahead and get ready. I would encourage you to go ahead and open up that window, Live Free, or on your phone or whatever, livefree.academy/quiz. So we're going to do the first quiz right meow. You know the meow thing.
Just
Super Troopers.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't know Super Troopers?
I've seen Super Troopers.
It's before his time, guys.
These schnozberries taste like schnozberries.
He does know Super Troopers.
Come on.
All right. Okay, so here's how it's going to work. You go there, you put the quiz question, the question that we ask, and then you do the quiz answer. Okay? Now, here's how it works. The first one, we're going to give away $20 worth of Monero. So you're going to have a Monero wallet for this to work, but they're very easy to set up. You go to cakewallet.com. If you're a Live Free Academy Accelerator member, if you're a Live Free Academy Accelerator member, there's actually been some master classes that I did teaching you how to set up wallets, other courses as well. So we're going to go ahead and throw out the first quiz question. And I'm going to ask one of Ryan as well. I don't think I asked him to prepare this, but maybe I did. Okay, so the first quiz question is, in any answer is the right answer. So really, it's the first person to give us their answer. That's how you win this one. livefree.academy/quiz. The first quiz question is, what was your favorite episode of the Live Free Now show? You can go way back if you've been with us for a while, or if you've just joined us more recently in the Ryan era when everything's gone downhill. Is it downhill or uphill? Downhill seems easier, but I think it's downhill. Let us know.
Everything's uphill. Or
It's uphill from here. That means it's harder.
it's all downhill from here.
Yeah, that means it's getting worse, but that's actually easier to go downhill unless you're going to get closer to
Well,
the
of
glory
course,
of
it's
God.
easier to go downhill.
Because there's, a slope.
Right.
And you got gravity.
It's easier to sin.
We're going to try to lighten the mood around here when it comes to
ortho.
When it comes to ortho,
we're taking
debates.
We'll take a step back.
We're not going to do ambush journalism on our guests. What's your position on the
It was
resurrection?
ambush journalism on all fronts. There was never supposed to be a debate. I wanted to do a quick little thing. It was going to be, and then John's like, Ryan, what do you think about Henna's position?
And then Ryan's like, I'm ready to give my life for the glory of God. All right. So livefree.academy/quiz. What's your favorite episode? Go ahead and fill it out. We're going to be monitoring live, guys, to let you know if you won. Later, we're going to actually do some pop quiz style, like questions. We'll get Derrick Broze at DBrose Live Free in on that fun as well. It looks like we have our first entry, unless it's a test entry from Ryan.
Tentry.
Oh, Jeff Johnston coming at you. Let's
Whoa,
see what Jeff Johnston
JJ.
says. JJ in the house. His favorite episode.
Bradley Logan.
The Bradley Logan. It's interesting that he says that. I don't want to show. Here we go. We'll not show his email address to the whole world, to all thousands and thousands of viewers. He chose favorite episode, Bradley Logan. All righty there, Mr.
Logue.
Jeff Johnston. You are the big winner. Let me see if I'll add a note, and we're going to hook you up with $20 worth of Monero. Add a note. $20 Monero.
Winner, chicken dinner.
All right, well, let's ask you there, Mr. Rye Guy. What has been your favorite episode? He's obviously going to pick something from the Ryan era.
Why is it so all up in my grill?
You want me to zoom out?
It just doesn't. It's not how it usually is. My favorite.
Threw him off.
Favorite
now I'm gonna
episode.
have to zoom in more.
I really like the Danny Katz episode, to be honest.
You like the DK?
She was a lot of fun. Okay, let's just go closer. Yeah, Danny was a lot of fun, and I love chatting with her. So that was probably one of my favorites.
Okay, and that episode showed us that none of us had the balls to say the N-word live on the air.
Right.
I was surprised about that. I thought at least one of us would. So, okay, let me share my favorite episode. As you know, I've been following the show for quite some time now, and I'm going to take it all the way back. You see, a little bit of history of the show. I used to do a podcast back in like 2015 called the Sovereign BTC Podcast, and seeing my good friend Jack Spirko and Tom Woods, they got like 2,000, 3,000 episodes. I wish that I just would have stuck with it. So I just want to encourage you guys, persistence is key. You can't start a podcast and then quit it, because the success and the followers and the viewers and the downloads comes after a lot of persistence when you've been just pounding it away for hundreds and hundreds of episodes. So we are proud to celebrate the 200th episode. And I want to let you know, it was actually, so I've had these ups and downs that I share in our webinars. And if you follow us on our email newsletter, livefree.academy/newsletter, livefree.academy/newsletter, livefree.academy/newsletter. And I was actually like in somewhat of a rut, definitely a financial rut before 2020, and was like, I made a conscious decision to pull back from public facing activism and producing content and organizing events and stuff, and like lean into entrepreneurship so I could get myself, my family out of a financial rut. And this was a couple years after I got divorced and separated, which was a nightmare in its own, but I learned a whole lot from it. Either way. And then COVID happened. I was like, oh my goodness, I got a lot to share with the world still, because all this stuff that I'd been doing for the past 2 decades, now it's like here in your face, and people are finally listening because they're locked down in their rooms. If only they listened before in their houses. They're grounded. Anyway, so that's when I reached out to Derrick Broze. So it's only fitting that Derrick is going to be our guest on the 200th episode. He was doing the conscious resistance. He was continually steady, just cranking it. And I even told myself, and I've shared this with him, like I actually felt more comfortable pulling back, because I always had this, like, I need to be doing more. The tyranny's here. I got to be doing more. But I was like, you know what? Derrick's out there just throwing haymakers, and his message is very similar to mine. And he's throwing in all this conscious stuff, and we need to be better versions of ourselves and healing from trauma. So I was like, Derrick's got it. And he was promoting the Freedom Cell Network at the time. So COVID hits, and I'm like, I got to get back out there. And so I asked Derrick, hey, man, can I produce some content on the Conscious Resistance Network channel? And he said, yes. Now, the Conscious Resistance Network channel is no more because they actually brought it back recently, but it got 3 strikes and it got pulled for like 2 or 3 years during the height of COVID. And one of those strikes was a video I did about Kratom. Sorry, Derrick. But let me go take it back to the old days when I was starting the Live Free Now show. And we were talking about coronavirus, real talk, problems, and solutions. The coronavirus pandemic presents an opportunity to change how we live. 4 tips on how to survive and thrive in the shelter-in economy. What a weird time that was. But let me show you guys my favorite episode, and I'll drop it there in the show notes for you guys to check out. This one actually got a lot of ground, too. There's a Kratom one right there. That's probably the one that was the strike for old Derrick. And maybe I should have had this prepared sooner. Ryan, why don't you tell us what life has been like ever since you joined us here at Live Free Academy and ever since you started bucking the system? I know that you accelerated what you were doing and speaking out during COVID too, huh?
Well, I was pretty hardcore. I had been in the truth game for a couple of years and had listened to thousands of hours of podcasts and stuff like that. While I was doing my research. So I got in the truth game in early 2018, and I was already an anti-vaxxer through all of my studies by the time 2020 came around. So I'd recognized early on that the scamdemic was going to be utilized for a big vaccine push. And I was actually the first one, and I will say the first one in Austin, Texas, a city of almost 1 million people, to march down the streets by myself. I thought that there were going to be people. I thought there was going to be some kind of gathering at the Capitol. There was no one there. It was just me. So I marched down the streets. I had my ex-girlfriend. She made me a bunch of posters. One of them said, Bill Gates is a Freemasonic Luciferian. I marched down Congress with that sign, and people were honking at me, flicking me off, saying, F you, you're killing people. Then I also had another one that said COVID-19 is a hoax. I also had another one that said, ask me about gematria, because I was super into gematria at the time. And
we never did that gematria conspiracy corner.
We got to do the gematria conspiracy corner for sure. Although Danny Katz, she's into gematria.
That's some satanic shit.
So, yeah. And then just got ever more radicalized. And then in 2022, my job said that you cannot be in the office without wearing a mask. So I said, screw you, I'm not wearing a mask. Got in a knockdown, drag out debate with one of the managers. And then after that, they put me on a month leave, and I saw John at a Freedom Conference, and I was like, hey man, I saw that you have a job opening. I'll come work for you. I'll quit my job right now. This is the situation. I told him all about the mask thing. And then he invited me in for an interview. And then I came in, and I was already anti Elon Musk at the time.
Oh boy.
Back in 2022. And then I saw he had this huge poster on his wall of Elon. And I was like, oh, you're a Musk cuck, huh? Those were the first words that I said to him on my interview.
I should have known with this guy.
You should have known.
And then the irony is his first starter role was packaging Kratom, and I wanted him to wear a mask, and then we got into it over it. We actually got a clip of that conversation at the event where Ryan comes up and he's like, I want to work for you. Let's go ahead and play that for you guys here real quick. And then Ryan's going to remind me.
Let's see if he can do this right. Let's see if he can actually share the audio.
Check the audio.
There he goes.
All right. So here is.
It's a nice ride.
Thanks, man.
Donnie Azoff.
Hey, Jordan Belfort. Nice to meet you.
Actually, I see that car around. I see it around a lot. Yeah, I think we live in the same building.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. 12th floor?
Yeah, what floor are you on?
4th floor. Yeah, it's a little kids.
Right.
Ugly wife. So what do you do, bro?
What do you mean, what do I do?
For work, what do you do?
I'm a stockbroker.
Stockbroker?
Yeah.
Children's furniture.
Oh, good for you.
It's all right. You make a lot of money.
Yeah, I do all right for myself.
I'm trying to put it together. You got your fucking nice car. We live in the same building. I'm not understand how much money you make.
I don't know. 70,000 last month.
Get the fuck out of here.
I'm serious.
Yeah, no, I'm serious too. Seriously, how much money you make?
I told you, 70,000. Well, technically 72,000 last month, something like that.
You make 72 grand in 1 month.
Yeah.
I tell you what. You show me a pay stub for $72,000 on it, I quit my job right now and I work for you. Hey, Paulie, what's up? No, everything's fine. Hey, listen, I quit.
And he did quit his job,
No.
which I thought was a little weird. I mean, I just met.
That's about how it went, except not a lot of money being made at the time. And some more was like, so what do you do for a living? I just spend all my time doing freedom shit. You really spend freedom shit? You show me you spend all your time getting paid to do freedom shit. I quit my job right now. All right,
That's pretty much how it went.
Pretty much,
And then it was off to the races. But yeah, I couldn't believe my first week when John was like, "Yo, you gotta wear a mask while you're packaging kratom because you don't want to spit in the product or accidentally get anything that could contaminate the product,
any COVID viruses."
And I was like, "Dude, what?" I thought I was living in like what's that old show? Twilight Zone. I thought I was in the Twilight Zone. I was like, dude, what? I literally came here to not be doing that. And so we got into it in the first week. He's like, so what do you want to do about this? And I was like, well, I ain't wearing a mask. So what do you want to do about it?
So I got him a face shield.
And then I didn't wear that
He
either.
wore that a couple times, probably just to appease me. Anyway, he worked his way up and wasn't in the packaging room. But okay, let's hit this now. I was going to share with you guys what my favorite episode was. We're going to have Derrick Broze joining us here shortly. My favorite episode of all time was Live Free Now, number 42. 6 ways to disrupt Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, the Great Reset, and the coming technocracy. Now, back then, this was 2020, October 14th, 2020. This is before I even started Live Free Academy. They got a lot of play. They got a lot more play. Our episodes got like thousands of views because everyone was paying attention more. So I really want to encourage you guys, make sure you're spreading the word about the show. Hey, make sure you're spreading the word about the show, about the program, because we got some hard-hitting information. And a lot of people pull back. They take their foot off the gas in the off season, so to speak, but it's only a matter of time before there's some hardcore tyrannical nonsense going down. And we want to make sure you guys are equipped with the solutions and the tools to do that. So here's the next quiz question, okay? And I want to encourage you guys not to cheat on this one, but you easily could cheat. All right, so again, the quiz goes like this. You go to livefree.academy/show, livefree.academy/quiz, livefree.academy/quiz. And here's the quiz. You go there, you enter your name, your email, your phone, and then you put the quiz question, and then you put the answer. And the first one to give a right answer will win. Now, again, you could cheat, but I'm going to encourage you not to cheat. But if you cheat, whatever. There's no way for us to tell. What is one of those 6 ways I laid out to disrupt the Great Reset and the coming technocracy? What's one of these 6 things that a person could do to disrupt Agenda 21? Remember, this was right at the beginning of COVID. The lockdowns had just happened a few months before, and I was given advice. 6 things you could do to disrupt Agenda 21 and the Great Reset and all this nonsense going on. What is one of those things? livefree.academy/quiz. The winner gets a free ticket to the Bitcoin Basics for Boomers and Beginners workshop. $397 value. Some of you guys may already have it. It's one of our more popular courses, but it's a $397 value. It's not available for purchase right now. It's back in the Live Free Academy vault. We're going to bring it out of the vault for one lucky winner. The first person that can go to livefree.academy/quiz. That's livefree.academy/quiz and correctly name one of the 6 ways to disrupt Agenda 21, 2030, the Great Reset, and the coming technocracy. If I can remember, we'll revisit that here in just one moment. So, man, it's been a wild ride since we started the program. And we're really excited and grateful for you guys to be joining us. I did want to shout out real quick for those of you that are interested in the Trinity Law activities and learning about the Trinity Law method later today at 2 p.m. Later today at 2 p.m. I am going, Vanessa, if you could pull that link up and share it in the comments or email it to me, that'd be great. My Gmail, and I'll put it in the comments so it goes on all the channels. But later today at 2 p.m., I'm going to be joined by Bradley Logan. This will be an interview, an open Q&A. I hope you guys will check it out. It's absolutely free. So if you're interested in the Trinity Law method, that's combining a non-statutory trust, private membership association, and 508c1a faith-based organization, then you can, that's kind of hard to, if you'll email it to me, then can you guys even click those links? You guys can click those links, right? Click that link to register. We'd love to have you.
Probably got to copy and paste.
Yeah, I got to share it too so the Facebook and the X folks can get it. We'd love to have you join. We'd love to have you check it out. We're going to be talking about the Trinity Law method. It's live today at 2 o'clock. And then, of course, we also have a huge event coming up. I'm really going to be giving this one my all. It is a 3-day challenge. You can go to cbdcoptout.com, cbdcoptout.com to check it out, where I'm going to be breaking down everything you need to know to opt out of CBDCs and exit the financial control grid. Again, it's a 3-day challenge. It goes live on the 25th of March. The 25th of March. It's only $100. You can get the whole 3 days for $100. And we got it all broken down. Day 1's about exiting the beast system. Day 2, becoming ungovernable. Day 3, advanced counter economics. And we got all these great sessions for you to join about the 4 C's of opting out of CBDCs, my inside-outside strategy, leaving a legacy of liberty, counter economy. It's all about agorism. Huge event coming up, guys. Huge event. And you can register cbdcoptout.com. That is cbdcoptout.com. I hope you'll check it out. It's going to be some really powerful work, and you can hop on board for the low price of $100. What do you got, Ryan? Put him on the spot. Ready to go.
$100. So yeah, guys, we're super excited about the CBDC opt-out deal that we're doing here. And you know, one thing that I'm excited about is that John's never done something quite like this event before. We're going to have some guest speakers, but a lot of it is going to be John like guiding and teaching people through the course of the challenge. And then there's also like a VIP upgrade and stuff like that. So you can ask questions, get personalized guidance from John. But I'm really excited to see how this goes down. It seems like the content's going to be absolutely awesome. And we're just really blown away by the amount of people that are thinking the same thing, that there's going to be a ton of value provided here. So would encourage everybody to at least check it out and see if it's for you.
All right. And there's our guest for the 200th episode, at Derrick Broze, Live Free, coming at you. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, guys. What's going on?
DB in the place to be.
Derrick Broze, Live Free on Twitter. Subscribe to the channel, LFG. What's up, man? How you doing? Where are you at now? You down in Mexico, or H-Town? What's the story?
Yeah, I'm here in Morelia. I plan to be here pretty much till the summer.
Excellent. Why don't you give us an update? I'm sure most of our audience is familiar with you, but introduce yourself and then let us know how things are going with your Conscious Agora property. You're making some major headway there.
Yeah, thanks for that. So my name is Derrick Broze. I'm a 15-year activist and independent journalist, and based in Mexico, as John said, originally from Houston, Texas. A lot of my work was inspired by John in the beginning, as far as introducing me to agorism and the need for parallel counter systems. And that's where I put my energy in, trying to use the journalism side and, you know, the films and documentaries and podcasts and all that to get people to question the world around them. But most importantly, try to bring them towards solutions of what we can actually do for ourselves, which is obviously what this show is all about. And that has led me down the path of starting an eco village here in Mexico. I first had this idea back in 2016, and when I was still living in Texas, I thought maybe we'd do it in Texas, but it ended up becoming just better for us to do it here in Mexico. And it's called the Conscious Agora. People can go to theconsciousagora.com. It's a super simple website for now. Hopefully we'll be updating it later this month. But it'll give you a basic understanding of what we're about. I mean, it's essentially the same principles you're hearing on this program: individual liberty, permaculture principles, mindfulness, trying to continue to elevate and grow as human beings, and then focusing on natural building, off-grid. Our community is very much centered around this idea of trying to balance individuality and our strong individuals that are involved in the project, individual liberty, sovereignty, the individual, the non-aggression principle, these kind of ideas, with the need for and the function of community. So how do we balance those two things out? We're not building a commune. I don't know if you guys ever come across this, John, but I noticed that a lot of people, when you say you're building a community, they just assume they use this word commune a lot. Like they assume everybody's sharing everything. And I guess that's, how some communities operate, but we're really striving to have that balance. So like in our community, everybody's going to own their own piece of the land, their own home site, out of the larger property of 23 acres. But beyond that, we also do hold the fruit trees in common, so to speak, and access to the water. So everybody gets to own their home site, do what you want in your house, build your house how you want. Generally speaking, aiming for natural building. We're not telling people how the house must look. It's, just sort of under this banner of natural building off grid. And that's your property. That's what you own on the land itself. But then all of us are going to come together to take care of the fruit trees, to have access to the water and the springs and all the other wonderful things that are there. So we're really aiming to strive to find that balance between, the collective kind of communal side of things and the individual side of things. And Miriam, my partner, we started working on this in 2020. I think I mentioned, so I first wrote about this in 2017 in my book, The Conscious Resistance Trilogy, the third book, Manifesto of the Free Humans, and just sort of described a fictional community called the Conscious Agora of, what I would build if I was going to do such a thing. And if I could design, a stateless society, here's how it would look. And that is exactly what we are now doing. It's been going on 8 years since I wrote that. It's been 5 years since we first came to Mexico. It's been just about 5 years since we first saw this property, and we paid it off just a couple months ago, back in mid-January. Paid off the property, so we fully own it now, and we're working on forming what's called the Civil Association out here in Mexico, and kind of getting our structure together as we bring in our new members. Right now, it's about five households, including Miriam and I, and we're aiming to have, at least in this first phase, 8 to 10 households. So 3 to 5 more people will be joining us. And we have our ongoing, what we call our activator process. So every Sunday we have a virtual call with our activators, just chatting, getting to know each other, doing different group exercises. Many of them came to the People's Reset in Mexico back in January and got to visit the land for the first time. So that was really cool. It was our first experience of having 15 to 20 people on the land. And it was a really fun time. It definitely felt like, all right, this is what we're aiming to build. This is the community that we're looking for. So it's still an ongoing process, but there's definitely a lot of exciting things happening. We're just, making it up as we go, as well as learning from different communities. Of course, we've used the book Creating Life Together as a guide at different points, but also Miriam and I have spent the last 5 years visiting different communities in Mexico, in Costa Rica, in the US, just and UK and Denmark as well, and learning how other people are organizing things, how they have come together. And there's all kinds of different models and ways. And we're trying to take inspiration from everything we see and everything we've learned in other communities we visited, but also very much sticking true to the vision that we have. And so it's exciting. We're still, the land's paid off and we've got some members coming in and all that good stuff, but we haven't started building our homes yet. Hopefully we're going to be building some roads later this year and starting on our holistic education center, which is basically going to be like the big community kitchen dining space with several classroom space for us to do workshops, for us to record podcasts in or record music in, and for us to use as a community, but also when we host events, which we hope to start next year, that we can have space for guests and space for classrooms and all that sort of thing. And we want the land, besides it being a residential village where our members live in, for it also to be like an activation boot camp where we can bring people and teach them about permaculture, teach them about freedom cells and organizing, and teach them about, working on our trauma and healing those things and growing food and all the sort of important elements that have become part of the whole exit and build strategy and philosophy. We want to use the land as a place to just keep spreading it and activating more people who we know are going to use these ideas, and then send them back home to wherever they live and watch them continue to spread it.
Heck yeah. I love it. So it'll be like a people's reset all year round, on the land, hands-on, which is really powerful. Okay. So I was sharing earlier, because it's the 200th episode, and going back to the early episodes, I actually started back doing content and during COVID, right? COVID started springing up, and I was like, man, all these ideas, all these strategies I've been talking about, I kind of pulled back to focus on my life and entrepreneurship. And then when I wanted to come back out there, I was like, hey, Derrick, think I could start doing some videos on the conscious resistance? So that's when the first, several episodes were airing and getting some exposure there. And then your channel got pulled. I was responsible for one of the strikes because of a Kratom video, but it's and then miraculously returned, which is pretty cool. But let me shout out, because we're doing a quiz. We're doing a quiz on the program, and I want to have you give the next quiz answer, but we'll ask the question here in just one sec. So the second question we did was, what are one of the 6 ways that I encouraged people to disrupt Agenda 21, 2030, the Great Reset, and the coming technocracy? One of the 6 ways, and of course those 6 ways were: stay in good health, raise free and sovereign children, become an entrepreneur, counter economist, minimize your digital footprint, get out of the city, and build community. And this was back in 2020. So I'd like to say that we've really accelerated on a lot of this stuff and reached a whole lot of people, all the work Derrick's doing as well. And so it was actually the one, the only Catherine Martin. She said exit and build. So we're gonna roll with that one. We are going to. When did you release that book, the exit or the How to Opt Out of the Technocratic State, where that phrase strategy was first iterated? What year was it? What year was that?
January 30th, 2020. So
January 30th, 2020.
Right before COVID.
Right on. So yeah, and like just that phrase, I think that's a huge part of why it's been so powerful, because it's just so punchy. And like, what do? We exit and build. And it really caught on and took a life of its own, which is cool. Okay, let's hit the next. So shout out Catherine Martin. I think you already have the Bitcoin basics for boomers and beginners, Catherine. That was the gift. So maybe we'll figure something out. We'll give you an equivalent course, your choice, valued at $397. Okay, so for the next quiz question, we're going to tie it in with our Conspiracy Corner. Yeah. This is a segment we do on every show called Conspiracy Corner. And we didn't have anything prepped, but we thought who better to prompt to do the Conspiracy Corner than Derrick Broze, who's one heck of a journalist, and he's gone way deep down the rabbit hole, especially with the pyramid of power. So for you watching, I want you to go to livefree.academy/quiz, livefree.academy/quiz, livefree.academy/quiz. And here's the quiz question. This one's going to be a challenge. So I'm going to ask you a question, Derrick, but if you'll draw it out over a little bit of time so people have the opportunity to answer. And if you already seen Derrick's, I don't know if you put the last episode out. I think you already have this one out, but if you already know it, whatever, go ahead. You'll get bonus points for having watched the Pyramid of Power already, but
they're fundraising for the last episode.
Yeah. We'll drop the link. I'll go dig it up on your Telegram. So here's the question for you guys. livefree.academy/quiz, enter your name, email, phone, and then put the quiz question and the answer. The first person to put the correct answer, or at least the answer that Derrick puts forward and that he's going to answer here in a sec, you're going to win $100 worth of Monero. Whoa!
Very cool.
Yeah. 100 in Monero. Man, as soon as I said that, I was like, I should have said 30 or 40. We're going 100. Forget it. Okay, so here's the question, Derrick. Remember, take your time to answer it. You lay out who you believe, what group, person, org, what shadowy, sinister element is at the top of the Pyramid of Power. Let us know what episode that is, and let us know, based on all your research and this entire voluminous work of the Pyramid of Power, thepyramidofpower.net, I think is the website, or who is at the top of the pyramid. But again, take your time answering it. livefree.academy/quiz. It's your chance to win $100 worth of Monero if your answer, who's at the top, matches Derrick's. Go ahead, Derrick.
It's the Jews. No, I'm just
I knew it. That was my
So as Ryan said, we are actually crowdfunding, excuse me, crowdfunding right now for the final episode of the Pyramid of Power. I don't know why my camera's out of focus right now, but anyways, we're crowdfunding right now for it. And it is that final episode where I'm going to answer that question. So I actually haven't put this out yet, but I will share what I've been finding. And this is, I mean, I started on this project in 2020. It originally was a speech, a 2.5-hour speech. I don't know if you remember that, John. In 2018, the second tour I did with Bitcoin.com with Roger, I was doing this Pyramid of Power presentation. And it was about 2.5 hours, 3 hours long. And I did that in 50 cities and people were kind enough to sit through it. But I thought afterwards, like, maybe this isn't the best format for this kind of, deep dive. And then in 2020, 2021, I decided, like, all right, let's make this into a documentary. It originally was going to be 12 episodes. That has since evolved into 17 episodes, and I could probably keep going, but we've stuck with this. And so we've released all 16 of them at thepyramidofpower.net. You can find it for free. You can listen to the audio versions, the video versions, everything from each of the episodes, transcripts, sources, all the suggested readings, suggested documentaries, if you want to go further, is all there. And of course, every episode has solutions in it. And so now we're at the final episode, which I am taking a break from right now to do this interview today, but I've been knee deep in this research, writing this final script, and we are looking at all these different claims. We're looking at people who say it is the deep state. What does that really mean? Okay, the Jesuits, the Royal Society of Jesus, the Catholic Church, the Freemasons. We're looking at that. We are looking at the claim that it's the Zionist, or for some people, just as simple, which I think is an oversimplification, of the Jews. And we're also looking at people like Mark Passio, who say, it's this satanic, dark Luciferian sort of thing. I did interview David Icke as well, and he talks a little bit about his reptile theory, or what he believes that there's this otherworldly kind of spirit or energy that has possessed the human beings at the top. And we're also interviewing some people who believe that there is no capstone, there is no top. It's, it's kind of an illusion to think that there's one person or one group at the top. And then also interviewing people like Larkin Rose and James Corbett, who have their own theories on the belief in authority, and how the belief in authority is really what allows all of the other groups and whoever may be near the top to actually function and to continue to do their work. And then also, of course, looking into things like the Bilderberg Group. Some folks may be familiar with terms like the Venetian black nobility, this idea that it's a lot of these old royal houses from Europe, which have kind of drifted into the background, that actually are still very much controlling and manipulating things. They just, we don't know their names. You can look at the land records, but the average person doesn't know their names. They're more familiar with Rockefeller, Rothschild, which, according to some researchers like Daniel Eschelin, are at best like, maybe upper middle management, but not the top of the pyramid. So it's going to be a big episode. I've aimed to make all these episodes between 30 minutes or less, and some of them went a little bit over, but this one probably will end up being a full hour, because everything I just described to you is like a section in the script with an interview. I mean, I've got Peter Dale Scott, Larkin Rose, James Corbett, Mark Passio, David Icke, Richard Grove. Who else? I think we're going to have Catherine Austin Fitz, maybe Whitney Webb in there. Peter Dale Scott, who's an old school researcher. G. Edward Griffin, of course, been around a long time. It's crazy. These guys are about to pass on soon, and they're some of the first people who've been speaking about this. So we're going to explore all those different theories. And of course, I will try to draw my own conclusions. I will say, from what I am learning now, and I'll just show you guys this. I've been ordering and buying books that are like 150, 200 years old. This one is called Foreign Conspiracy Against the Liberties of the United States. It was written by Samuel Morse, the guy who invented Morse code. Yep, he was a conspiracy theorist. It was published in 1878. And it's basically, the full title here. I'll share this with you guys because it's kind of hilarious. The full title of the book is Foreign Conspiracy Against the Liberties of the United States: How the Jesuits Used the Vatican, Foreign Monarchies, and the St. Leopold Foundation and subservient Catholic mobs to secretly infiltrate and control America. And it was written 150 plus years ago. So I'm going back and finding books like that. There's another one called Proofs of a Conspiracy. This pastor wrote some letters to George Washington warning about the Freemasons infiltrating America in the early days. So there's some pretty interesting historical, elements to this. But I will say, for myself, I do believe one of those groups is near the top. I can't quite at the moment suss out, is it, what's the exact hierarchy? Are the Zionists above the Jesuits and above the Masons? I think there's probably some collaboration and probably less certainty as we get to the top there. But ultimately, I do believe it is the belief in authority that allows this all to happen, and people giving away their own personal power, spiritual power, emotional power, etc., forgetting our connection to the divine, that allows us to end up becoming subservient to people. And obviously there's structures in place that have existed, and these people have been amassing mass amounts of wealth and controlling the media and all the different pieces of the pyramid, which allow them to do these things. But I do think on a deeper level, it's humanity's kind of just insecurities or doubts in ourselves and trauma throughout the whole history of humanity, war, violence, and death, and so many different things that we're not facing that allow us to even want, like, for example, there's people right now cheering on, Trump and Elon, and, they want a king, they want a CEO king to rule the country. And I think that comes from a place of lack and of lack of self-awareness for sure. And so that is definitely one of the conclusions we're going to draw. I won't say that's going to be the final answer, but I definitely lean in that direction, that yes, we can point to historical evidence of these groups doing different things. And that is a fact. Those are real, it's real data. But would they be allowed, and would they be able to do this if the people were confident enough to just rise up and stand up and say, we're no longer going to be subject to this? I don't know.
Wow. Well, then and I like that. It's kind of I'm not going to say a trick answer, but it brings it back to our anarchist philosophy, right? But so if that is the case,
I'm trying to bring them all to volunteerism.
There you go. Yeah. And I noticed it's great because you talk about the conspiracy and the research, but you offer a ton of solutions in doing so, which I think sets your conspiracy research journalism apart from a lot of other people's, and why it resonates with so many people. Because a lot of people read this kind of stuff. They watch a documentary. Some of them are accurate and objective. Some of them are deliberately fear mongering and fear porn, but then that leads to frustration. And if people don't have an outlet, then they get angry, and then they're more susceptible to the strongman leader that comes in posing as the savior. But if it is, in fact, and if you're saying that it's us giving up our own internal authority, could you trace back to like the genesis of that? I know it's been going on, the divine right of kings, and even before that, but maybe part of it lies in the root of what caused humanity to give up their power.
There's definitely some interesting ideas about that. Like, as you know, John, there's there are Christian truthers out there, and I know that you're getting closer to your Christian faith. So there's some people who filter this whole investigation through that lens, and would say, well, it was, the leaving of paradise and, the eating of the apple, that sort of thing separated people from God, and then that allowed everything else to, to come from. Then there's people like Mark Passio, who's has this theory or this idea that there may have been some, I don't know if you would say alien or whatever, but like whatever the creative force, whether we call that God or some other, species from another planet or something, that he says that humanity as a collective is experiencing cosmic abandonment, and that we have like this deep-seated abandonment issues from having been left here on this planet by our creator, whoever that may have been, and that deeper abandonment issue that we're all maybe suffering from at different levels allows people to then be ruled over and things like that. So there's definitely a lot of interesting theories, and I don't know, maybe we could go back and trace it. And I also, I don't really claim to, of course, fully understand it completely, because I think that there are people like us who are aiming to be as, stand in as strong as possible in our power, and not, fall prey to this idea that we need a strong man or a woman to rule over us. And I've asked myself this question for a long time, like, what is it that certain people seem to, get it and others don't seem to get it? Why is it that some people can, quote unquote, wake up and others seem to not be capable of that? Or at least, let's say, in the present moment. I have faith that people can wake up in the long term. Maybe it takes more traumatic circumstances. So I don't know if we just didn't drink enough fluoride or watch enough TV, but I definitely was drinking a lot of fluoride when I was a kid, and I definitely watched a lot of TV. But for me, it was getting locked up and having this traumatic experience. I think it often takes something like that. Like our friend Danny talks about his mom getting sick, getting cancer, and then that causing him to look at health and reevaluate a lot of different things. People tend to have some sort of deep event in their life, whether it was COVID or something like that, some big kind of thing. And sometimes maybe not. People's minds are just open from a young age. They have, parents giving them good influences and stuff like that. But I do think sometimes it takes a deeper traumatic event for people to then step up and say, okay, what is going on in the world? Maybe I'm not really paying attention to what's happening. And then, of course, we have to acknowledge that, I mean, there is conspiracies that exist throughout history. And then there are also those structural things that I was saying, and they're kind of tied together, right? Because the conspiracy, the people seeking to rule over humanity have rigged the systems for generations. And now we're at a place where the average person is just, in many cases, working 2 to 3 jobs just to try to survive. How does a person like that have time to learn about permaculture? I mean, I think it's possible if you really, really want to, but they're definitely having to overcome a mountain of things that have been built into the system. I posted about this yesterday on social media, and some of the responses I got were from people saying the reason people won't wake up is because they're traumatized, or because they're just too busy. Like, they're just trying to survive. They're just trying to make it. They're trying to, pay their bills and do this and that. And if you're in that constant rat race, it's pretty hard to start thinking about the deeper questions of life, let alone start trying to, put together an exit strategy. But obviously that's what you guys and myself, we put energy into trying to help people find those paths. But I think that is definitely a big obstacle, is that the deck is stacked against the average person.
I definitely think there's a spiritual war going on, whatever form that takes for people based on their beliefs. We were actually having a discourse with a potential future business partner recently, and we were talking about psychedelics. And we interviewed Hannah Maria recently, and there was a discourse, another D word, a debate about ayahuasca and cleansing and Christ and Christianity. Anyway, and just more recently, this last weekend, we were having this discussion about psychedelics and how that could potentially, or maybe not, lead people to Christ. And I was remembering back the first time, I don't know if it was the first time, but I remember distinctly being on LSD. And there was like a total shift in my thinking. And I was a youngster. I was like 13, 14, 15. And I wasn't a truther or conspiracy guy. I was a rebel all throughout school, bucking the system organically, just a desire to push back on the authorities. So maybe there's something there. But as soon as I took LSD and mushrooms, it's like I began to see the world differently. And I do think that there's value in kind of developing the critical thinking that may not be there without being cracked open like that. Now, of course, there's people that haven't taken mushrooms or LSD that can go toe to toe on all the critical thinking and think outside the box as well. But that was something that stood for me. And then, of course, Danny Moore here is throwing me under the bus. The big question is, does John still have a poster of Elon Musk on his wall? And the answer is, Catherine says, I'm betting Ryan torched it. It was actually a metal picture, so he wouldn't be able to torch it. But no, it's not on my wall. And while I do think Elon's got some great products, I'm actually trading in my Model X for a nice Ford F-250 diesel pickup truck so I can finally embody a Texas.
That'll work on the farm.
What's that?
I said that'll work on the farm. We're trying
I know
to get a
the
truck
Model
too.
X is crap on the farm.
Yeah, right now I'm the main source of all of the.
We lean heavy on Ryan's big truck.
Because
But
I've got an F-250.
I finally started to see through Elon's thing, and I'm respected him most of all because of what he's accomplished, which I still am in awe of, and there's much to learn through that, of course, if we all get government contracts, Derrick will say. But it was whenever he did the apology tour with Netanyahu, and then I realized, like, wow, even this supposed or seeming maverick of a figure, he's beholden to Israel too, and that's where I was like, dang,
He's a kiss ass.
this
He
Israel
always has
thing.
been.
This Israel thing's got
He's always been
lot
a
of,
brown noser.
influence. Anyway, yeah, he's a piece of shit. And now
Remember,
he's obviously
didn't
part of
Trump
the deal.
say, like, oh, I could have had him get on his knees and
Yeah.
kiss my ass or something
He
like
said that in the
He
first
would've.
admin. Yeah,
I
he
think
said
they're
that.
kissing each other's ass. Okay, I know our audience is glad. John finally woke up. I took a lot of shit for that, but
Well, John, can I pick up on one of the threads you mentioned?
yeah. Ryan's got something to say on.
Hold on,
something
no, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to, it's just real quick. Just wanted to throw in and say that, yes, LSD also was part of my awakening too. I can for sure say that. I know that's not something everybody wants to explore, but a young Derrick Broze was definitely spending a lot of time taking acid and abusing it and not respecting it. But over time, I came to realize, like, this is a powerful medicine. And like, if I use it in a right way and respectful way, I could gain a lot from this. And I definitely spent plenty of time deep in meditation while tripping on acid in my room alone in the dark and just writing down my thoughts and exploring. Like, I think that's something that not everybody's ready for, because when you're on a psychedelic like that, which is extremely strong, especially in small doses, your mind can go all kinds of places, even thoughts you never would even want to think. Like, things can pop up and you're like, whoa, that's in my head. And that could be scary for a lot of people. But for me, it definitely helped me just kind of like plumb the depths of my own soul and my own mind and go deeper. And I think that then played into, because this was before I got locked up. And when I got out, after I got locked up, I was still very much like acid, LSD, this is a powerful tool. And yeah, in the beginning of my awakening, it was definitely, I was still tripping in the beginning. I stopped tripping years ago, but I definitely still have lots of respect for it.
Yeah, for sure. I remember distinctly taking LSD, and then me and my friends in high school were watching the Gulf War, the first Gulf War in 1990, 1991 play out. And we were like yelling at the TV, like, no, don't do this. So we instinctively like saw through this nonsense. But yeah, definitely isn't for the faint of heart, but you can learn a whole lot. All right, we got 10 minutes. Derek's got to go to Heart 11. What were you thinking there, Mr. Reggae?
Well, I'll just say for the Christians in the audience that I think that the most profound spiritual insights can come through the grace of God and by praying to Jesus Christ. But, I don't doubt that very great and deep spiritual insights can come from psychedelics and LSD.
He softened his position. He softened his heart.
I'm just saying.
The meek will inherit the earth.
I think God speaks to people in many different ways,
Totally.
And
Yeah,
just add to that,
going
Ryan.
on.
I had a trip with a DMT trip years ago, and it was with a Christian friend. It was she was like super devout Christian, and me and some friends, we convinced her to take DMT. Now we got her to open like, hey, I think this might be something you're beneficial, that would be beneficial to you, because she also was dealing with a lot of trauma for sure, and she had an amazing experience. And she felt like, in her own words, like she felt like this connected her closer to what she considered to be God. She's like, that I felt something, the love of God is the way I remember she put it. And even though it was interesting because she kind of also at the same time refused to believe that any of us in the room who didn't necessarily identify as Christian could have had the same experience. She's like, no, there's no way you guys could have felt what I felt because I follow Jesus. But nevertheless, I do think those tools, in my mind, like God created everything that we have access to. And that doesn't mean everything is beneficial, and that we shouldn't still be careful of what we put in our minds and our hearts and our bodies, of course. But I also think that like cannabis is a plant that created by God, and these other tools, they're, when used in a certain way. I saw somebody commented about the set and setting. That's absolutely important. Like, don't just be dropping 10 hits of acid and going to drive your car around like I used to do. Be in a place where you're safe with people that you can trust. And if you're going to have some mushrooms, yeah. Oh man, driving on acid. Woof.
Man. No, thank you.
Feel like you're driving a spaceship.
Right.
By the way, John, I dropped the link to the Pyramid of Power crowdfunding.
Yeah, I shared it earlier. I'll drop it there in the chat again, and we'll run it across. Fundraiser, RAZR.com, the Pop Final, the Pyramid of Power Final. How are you doing on that? I saw last time I checked, you had like $3,000 raised.
We're about to hit 5K, which is cool.
5K.
We're past 5K with some of the crypto donations, but as far as the fiat one, that's the one there. It's cool. This is the first time I'm doing that one there. Plus there's another crowdfunding platform that our friend Doug over at Monerotopia was involved in called Kuno, which is a Monero crowdfunding campaign. So I've got a couple of Monero raised over there. We're at 4,800 here on the fundraiser from 81 contributors, which is pretty cool. And then somebody else sent in $1,000 Bitcoin donation as well. So as I said in the crowdfunding campaign, just for everybody's awareness, this isn't going to send me on some vacation or anything. I haven't made anything off the Pyramid of Power in the last 5 years. All of the money has been going to paying my editors, because they literally put hundreds of hours into making my words, and because I do the research, I write the scripts and I do the narration, but they make it just pop and look really beautiful. And so this, once we hit 5K, which I think we already have or we're about to, that's all going to my editor, Steph, who's just super talented. And then if we can get all the way up to 10K, anything after 5K, we're going to start investing into DVDs and USB drives once the 17th episode's out. And I'm also going to be turning all the scripts into like a companion book. So this information will be in written form as well.
Come on. All right. I'm sending one Monero right now, live on the air.
There he goes.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not going to hit the max button on the amount there. I love you, Derek, but not that much. All right. There you go. It's sent. Hopefully we'll see it. I don't know if it's got to get confirmed or anything, but maybe we'll see if it bumps up to 2.4346. Again, fundraiser.com/the POP final. If you want to contribute with crypto, the links are there on the page. Okay, we only have you for about 5 minutes. Let's
Hold on. I'm going to ask this question before you keep jumping around.
go right ahead. I thought you already said your piece.
So-
Go ahead. Get it in there. What do you got?
No. That wasn't my piece.
He's got multiple pieces.
So this is, I actually thought about this. I want to talk to you about this anyway, Derek, but it actually clicked while we were talking for you that you're actually doing this right now. So, Alice Bailey she said that in 2025, it was going to be the externalization of the hierarchy. And now you're completing the pyramid of power in 2025. So I think that's kind of,
What does that mean, the externalization of the hierarchy?
externalization of the hierarchy is going to be exposing how the world is actually run, works. That's kind of been gradually happening with the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, the P. Diddy stuff. All of these things are coming to light that have been working in the shadows for a long time, but now we're actually seeing them for as they are. Some of the Trumpers are calling it the Great Awakening, that kind of thing. But Derek, what are your thoughts on, Alice Bailey writing this like 100 years ago that was going to start happening in 2025? And now Trump, she said that we were going to start having a golden age in 2025.
Whoa.
And then Trump says that we're going to have a golden age in his speech when he was getting inaugurated. So your thoughts on that?
First, just one question, Ryan. Are you aware of how some of the Christian truthers look at Alice Bailey and some of the things she was done as like the New Age, the beginning of New Age sort of
Totally.
stuff?
Yep.
Yeah. So there's that
Publishing
that
company,
angle.
right?
Say that again.
Lucifer Publishing Company.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Like all that whole kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm just curious. So that I think it is interesting that they talk about that. And another aspect of you outlined it perfectly. It's like the revealing of the truths. And also another aspect that I've seen people discuss with this whole idea of the externalization of the hierarchy. And John, you'll be familiar with this too, that this idea that whoever they are at the top, satanic, Luciferian, whatever these people may be, that in some way they have to get the public to consent to the things that they are doing. So they often put it out in the open. Maybe it's kind of deceptively put in front of our face, but in their minds, like, hey, we're telling them what we're doing. And so we're not breaking any spiritual laws because they're consenting to it, even if they don't fully understand it. And I think that's kind of how I view the externalization of the hierarchy, is that the mask is just coming off, and there's going to be a reveal, maybe some truths about some of the darker things, like you mentioned Epstein and some other things, although the Epstein files so far haven't been anything major.
Right.
And same thing with JFK files. But in general, this idea that the pyramid is going to come out into the open. And I definitely think we're witnessing that. I mean, not to get all lost into the politics of the day, but there's definitely some increasing signs that Trump and his team do not care what the law says or what the courts say, and they're going to do whatever they want. And there's people who are willing to celebrate that and cheer that on. And actually this morning, as I was doing my research into the Jesuits, somebody sent me a book to check out from this old Catholic priest who I think in the 1500s predicted that the current Pope was going to be the last Pope, and that there would be a political leader that would be, the Antichrist, and that the Pope would eventually embrace. So there's definitely a lot of predictions about this times and about what we're witnessing. I mean, it's definitely a hell of a time to be alive, for sure. I'll say that. And I'm just trying to do my best, and I encourage everybody out there to do their best, whether you're a Christian or otherwise, to just get as close to the Creator as you can, and to just be continuing to be discerning, because I do think, and the Bible talks about some of this as well, that in these potentially end days, I don't know, I don't really want to frame it that way, but in these troubling times, let's say, there are going to be lots of good people that we care about and love and care about that are just going to fall for these deceptions. And I think we've seen this over the years, but as the deception gets stronger, there will be some people who it becomes clear to and who wake up and question and challenge and push back. And then there will be others who I think get sucked deeper into it and are incapable for one reason or another of seeing the evil that they end up supporting. So I definitely think we're in some interesting times right now, and whether Alice Bailey was correct or knew something that maybe we didn't have access to or don't have access to, I guess we're going to find out because there's no other way but through it, right?
Wild times ahead. Wild times ahead. I understand you got to go, Derek. Hey, we really appreciate you coming on the show, man. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. And thanks for the donation, John. And I saw Danny Moore just said he contributed
Danny
$10.
Moore.
So thank you. Appreciate
Come
you
on.
guys.
Nice.
All
He's
right.
throwing jabs at me and throwing donations Derek's way.
Appreciate you
All right.
guys. You'll have a
All
good
right,
show.
thanks, Derek.
All right, thanks, brother.
Congratulations.
Take care.
Yeah.
Later, man. All right. Yeah, and he brings up a good point, and it was JC in Luke chapter 12 who said, "Do you think I came to bring peace to the earth? No, I came to bring division. From now on, there will be 5 in one household divided, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. They will be divided, father against son and son against father, mother against daughter and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law." We're in for some trying times, my friends, but it's important to stay positive, keep the faith, stay strong, connect with your brothers and sisters in a loving way. And I do think, yeah, again, whatever, I think there's a lot of people that have no spiritual foundation. And I think that that's a way to kind of be easier led towards destruction, self-destruction, whatever it may be, however you show up. That's just my 2 cents and something that I've experienced in my own life. All right, guys, I want to thank you for joining us. Actually, we said we were going to give away some Kratom. Let's do one more quiz. One more quiz.
Let's also talk about CrowdHealth.
And CrowdHealth, Kratom and CrowdHealth. All right, one more pop quiz here, friends. Pop quiz. We've been giving away stuff left and right, some Monero here and there, some courses there and here. But here's the next question. It's about Kratom. And again, the way that the game works is to go to livefree.academy/quiz. That's livefree.academy/quiz. And go ahead and enter your name. Oh, and the keyboard's not working. Okay, livefree.academy/quiz. Livefree.academy/quiz. And this is the question. Name one of the active compounds in Kratom. You're welcome to go look it up. And the winner is going to win a free 4-ounce bag of green Maine Dock Kratom. You got to live in the U.S., of course, and it's illegal in 6 states. So hopefully you don't live in one of those states. But go to livefree.academy/quiz and let me know one of the active compounds in Kratom, over at livefree.academy/quiz, and you'll win a free 4-ounce bag. That's a $40 retail value. We'll cover the shipping and everything, sending it to you. But you got to live in the U.S. and 44 states. So we got a good chance that you're not in one of the 6 foolish states that made Kratom illegal. And we'll send you a free 4-ounce bag of Kratom. If you want to try Kratom in general, you can go to freeounceofkratom.com. We'll ship you a free ounce. All you got to do is pay $5 shipping and handling. We'll send you a free ounce. And before we let you go, Ryan here is going to share a bit about one of our sponsors. They've sponsored the show in the past. They've done a lot of support here for us at Live Free Academy. And Ryan and I are both members of their program. So Ryan, who are we talking about here?
Yeah, guys, I want to share a little bit about CrowdHealth. CrowdHealth is an amazing health share service. So you contribute. We actually have a very special deal if you want to go to their platform. It's joincrowdhealth.com/promos/LFA. If you go to that website, then you'll be able to get 6 months of $99 for healthcare costs or towards your healthcare. So it doesn't work like a traditional insurance company, but they cover much more than traditional insurance companies. They're down to earth. They want to fund your thing as much as possible, as long as you're not going crazy and trying to get something funded that's totally out of line. They want to make sure that you're funded and that everybody's happy. And you can get 6 months of only $99 per month. John and I are both members. It's been absolutely fantastic for both of us so far, and we're really, really happy to be partnering with CrowdHealth. And they also do Bitcoin. So if you'd like to pay for your CrowdHealth membership in Bitcoin, it's really unique the way that they did it. They set it up as a kind of dollar cost averaging thing where you put in your Bitcoin every month, and then it pulls from that to fund your healthcare share. So really, really cool stuff. CrowdHealth is on the cutting edge of healthcare and funding those kinds of requests. So I would encourage you to go and check them out.
Excellent. Excellent. Again, that's joincrowdhealth.com/promos/LFA. And if you do want to learn more, they got an awesome team where you could book a call and ask any questions about whatever's going on with your specific situation. They'll be able to help you out. Ryan and I are both members, and they're great supporters of the work we do. joincrowdhealth.com/promos/LFA. All right. Well, this was a good time. Did you have a good time?
Dang good time.
Wait till episode 201.
I wish we had Derrick for longer. I had some more questions, but
next time.
Next time. Do you want to tell them about the call that you're doing later for PLA?
Yeah, 2:00, guys. Join it. Check it out. Let me drop the link for you. Prosperous Legacy Advisors. They are our friends over there doing a lot of work on the Trinity Law Method, So most definitely, I want you guys to check them out. Let me share the link real quick. I think Vanessa dropped it here for us. So this is a free event. If you can't join live, you'll get access to the replay. But we're going to be doing a interview Q&A all about the Trinity Law Method, how you can opt out of the legal matrix and enter the private realm. So definitely check that out. I just dropped the link there on all the things. All right, guys, this has been real. Until next time, until episode 20. The link does not work. Let me see. It's working for me there. Maybe try to copy it and paste it. Enter, or are they saying that the CrowdHealth link doesn't work? Which episode? Just email us at helpdesk@livefree.academy if you need help with anything. We'll definitely hook you up there. So, hey, thanks everybody for joining us. Until next time, stay free out there. Peace and freedom, everybody.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye. Later. Doo-doo-doo.